Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. In today's video, I want to talk about these products, the Ordinary Retinols. Now, when the Ordinary launched their retinol collection around 3 years ago, they took the world by storm. They became instant bestsellers. But 3 years later, a lot of people are starting to criticise the formulations, challenging some of the claims that the Ordinary make. This has led to a lot of you guys reaching out to me and say, are they still okay to use in my skincare routine? Are they actually going to be delivering me any anti-aging benefits? Or are they just a little bit of a con? Well, I've got a lot of thoughts and feelings on this, and that's what I want to pick apart in today's video. So sit back, relax, let's talk the Ordinary Retinols. Now, before we get into this video, just the usual reminder to do all that YouTubey stuff. If you haven't already, if you could reach down and give this video a big thumbs up and a like. It's a fantastic way of supporting me and the channel because the more likes the video gets, the more widely YouTube will distribute it on its platform. I don't measure the amount of worth and value in life based on the number of likes I get, but by giving the video a thumbs up, it will help as many people as possible discover our fabulous Mad About Skin family. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I'd also love to know your own experiences with the Ordinary Retinols, so make sure you leave me a comment below showing which products you've tried, the results that you got, because I really want to get that conversation going. For me, it's always worth remembering, when it comes to skincare, use what works for you. These are just my thoughts, feelings and opinions when it comes to the Ordinary Retinol collection, and you might have totally different ones, which is absolutely fine. We always have to match the products that we reach for to our individual skin type, the outcomes that we want, and of course our budget. So different products will appeal differently to different people, so just always bear that in mind. Now, with all that being said, shall we just cut the waffle and delve straight on in? And I guess the best place to start is right back at the beginning, 3 years ago when the Ordinary launched their retinol collection. Now, prior to this launch, they did have one retinol containing product already, which was their advanced retinol. They rebranded that to become the Granactive Retinoid Emulsion, which is still in the collection today. Aside from that rebrand that happened at the same time, they launched 6 new products, 3 Granactive Retinols in different concentrations, and 3 standard retinols in squalane, again with different concentrations to meet different skin types. This went mad. Literally, I think they sold out in like 2 days and the hype was through the roof. I kind of understand this because before this point, it was really difficult to get a drugstore and affordable retinol. It was also really difficult to find different strengths of retinol, and the Ordinary kind of offered it all. They did a great job with the marketing, explaining the differences between the formulations and concentrations, really helping the consumer to work out the right one for them. Of course, the influencer community, which was still absolutely in love with the Ordinary, went into overdrive. Everyone tried it, they loved it, and the hype was blown up here on YouTube, over on Reddit and Instagram. Now, cut to like 3 years later today, where I think a lot more critiques and criticisms are being levelled at the Ordinary Retinol collection. And that's probably best explained by the fact we now have so much choice in the drugstore retinol market. Back then, like I said, the Ordinary were really groundbreaking with this, but now you can walk into any drugstore and find so many different retinols to reach for. This means that a lot more people are putting extra scrutiny on the retinol formulations from the Ordinary and what the brand is actually claiming the products will deliver. In this section of the video, I'm going to talk about that criticism and those critiques and my thoughts on them. We're then going to come on to the pros of reaching for the Ordinary retinols, because let's be honest, every story has 2 sides. And then at the end, ultimately, we're going to work out whether there's still a space for the Ordinary retinols in your own skincare routine and whether we should still be reaching for them. So let's start with those criticisms first. And I think the main one that's been levelled at the Ordinary at the moment is their choice of vitamin A derivative in their Granactive retinoids. They've chosen HPR, which is a ridiculously long scientific name that I've abbreviated to HPR. I've left it in the description box below if you want to know more about it, but it's a retinol ester which studies have shown can be effective for anti-aging. Fortunately, those studies have been done by Estee Lauder, that own Decium, that own The Ordinary. I know that's a really confusing chain, but this isn't something that's unique in the cosmetic industry. A lot of brands will do studies on their products to prove how effective they are, because the more effective they're seen to be, the more likely us, the consumer, are to reach for and buy them. This is definitely the case of what Estee Lauder has done with the Ordinary Granactive Retinoids, and their studies have shown that HPR, this variant of vitamin A, is really effective in terms of delivering gentle but effective anti-aging. Fortunately, there aren't any other studies to compare that to. This has led a lot of people to call out that some of the claims that the Ordinary make around their Granactive Retinoid collection are just a little bit overblown, because actually, beyond those studies, there's not a whole lot of data set around this particular type of vitamin A ester and how it's actually going to work in the skin to deliver those anti-aging benefits. Now, I do get this, and I think this is a perfectly valid criticism. Like I say, Estee Lauder aren't the only brand in the cosmetics industry that do these studies. Most brands do, and it doesn't mean that they're complete fabrications. It's just, I always think take a pinch of salt if it's the brand that owns the product that's actually doing those tests, because I think, again, they've got a vested interest in proving the efficacy of the product. So kind of just bear in mind, but it doesn't mean that they're completely useless. Also, it's always worth remembering that actually this HPR version of the vitamin A derivative is actually only in their Granactive collection. The traditional retinols in squalane actually have a traditional retinol in them, so this criticism only relates to half of the Ordinary Retinol collection, not the entire collection. I think that's an important distinction to make, and I'm going to come on to that in my summary later on in the video. The second criticism that seems to be levelled a lot is that they're completely confusing. And, you know, I do get this. I think it's like a double-edged sword. I'm always championing extra consumer choice. I think in skincare, it's nice that we have different concentrations, we have different brands, we have different products. I'm all about the choice so we can make the right decisions for our own skincare routine and have a wide variety of products to choose from. However, the reverse of that is when we have a lot of choice, it then becomes a little bit confusing. And I feel like sometimes we ask a little bit too much. The Ordinary delivered a great range of different strengths and formulations of retinol, which I think is great in terms of allowing us to choose the right ones for our skin type. But the reverse of that is it looks completely baffling when you stack them side by side online. One of the main criticisms is the Ordinary don't make it super easy to work out which is the right version, the right concentration for your individual skin type and needs. And I do think, I think some of this criticism is fair, because you look at their website and it is a little bit baffling. Now, one criticism of the Ordinary retinols that I think is absolutely valid is the elegance, the finish, and the application of the products themselves. Now, I don't want to read them to filth for this, because I think when you're paying drugstore or super affordable price points for products, I think sometimes there's always going to be a trade-off between the elegance and the application of the product versus the price point that you're paying. I wish that wasn't the case, but of course, the higher the price point, I think the more we should expect in terms of the application and the finish on the skin. The Ordinary retinols, honestly, their application is not a pleasure, and the finish is so greasy, so tacky, and they all take forever to sink in. I think this is particularly problematic if, like me, have super oily, acne-prone skin type. I think if you've got a drier skin type, they might work that a little bit better. But because of the base formulation in all of their retinol products, they just sit like a real film on the skin. They don't sink in. They take ages to work in, and it's not a pleasurable experience. I worked through that because I wanted a drugstore and affordable retinol, but ultimately I've decided now that we have a greater range of affordable retinols, I've moved to some other brands that for the same great price point can just formulate with a better finish. I think all of the retinol collection from the Ordinary needs a little bit of a formulation update, just to tweak things to make the finish a little bit more pleasant to use and to reduce the film that it leaves on the skin. I do think this criticism is valid, and whilst it will work for certain skin types, particularly the drier skin types, I just think for a lot of us that finish is what puts us off reaching for the Ordinary retinols time and time again. Now, that's the criticism. That's my thoughts on it. What are the pros? Well, let's start with the price point. It's still one of the most affordable and drugstore retinols on the market. And I think particularly if you're starting on your retinol journey, the Ordinary retinols will be a really great option for you. Beautifully affordable. That range of strengths will let you with ease kind of work your way up. You don't have to work out which brand is stronger than the other brand. You can start with the lowest concentration, go to the medium, then reach for the highest. And you kind of got that graduated step already built in, which I really like. And I think it takes some of the complexity out of it. I also think particularly the retinols in squalane rather than the Granactive retinols do have a lot of data that sits behind them. Retinol is a fantastic anti-aging ingredient, and so reaching for the Ordinary is a really nice and affordable way of doing this. I said earlier that the finish wasn't that great, and that's definitely the case on my oily, acne-prone skin, but if you have a drier skin type, the squalane base could actually be beneficial to offset some of the dryness that you can get from retinol. So for drier skin types, these actually might deliver some additional benefit because of that formulation, if that makes sense. It's all about matching the individual products that you choose to your skin type. It didn't work for me, but that doesn't mean that it won't work for drier skin types. That's something to call out. So overall, do I think there's a place for the Ordinary retinols in the skincare world? Absolutely, and I love the fact that they do different concentrations within the same brand and range, because that just makes it super easy for people to graduate up as they're easing into their vitamin A journey. If I was the Ordinary, I'm not, but if they're listening, I personally would drop the Granactive retinol collection, because I think that there's not that much difference between those products and the traditional retinols in squalane. They're designed to be more gentle on the skin, but actually the lower strength retinols in squalane are super gentle anyway. So I'd lose the Granactive element, because I think that would simplify everything, take some of the confusion out of it, and allow the Ordinary to really focus in on what I think are the better of the retinol products. The retinols in squalane could do with a little bit of tweaking of the formulation to improve that finish, but for a drier skin type, these could be absolutely game changing, and we always need to bear bear in mind that not all products are always going to work for all skin types. It's situational, which is why I always say it's important to match the product you reach for to your skin type, what outcomes you want to get, and ultimately your budget. I love the fact that The Ordinary really introduced the world to budget and affordable retinols, and I think they should be applauded for that. I do wish that maybe they toned down some of their marketing, which might be a little bit overhyped, and actually is unusual for The Ordinary, because if you look through some of their other claims, they're not doing the same things they are for their retinols. I would like them to just rein that in a little bit, but you know what, it's quite difficult to read a brand to fill for that when every other cosmetic brand in the world is doing exactly the same. I definitely think if you're looking for budget and affordable retinols and you have a drier skin type, then The Ordinary Retinol in Squalane could be fantastic. Start with the lower strength and work your way up, and you'll get some great results. For me, if you have an oily or acne skin type, I just think there are better retinols on the market, and I covered some of my favourites in a recent video, which I'm going to leave a link to up there. Definitely worth checking out, because I think, you know what, variety and mixing and matching things to match your own skin type is super important when it comes to your routine, and ultimately The Ordinary won't work for everyone, which is why I personally don't reach for The Ordinary retinols in my day-to-day skincare routine. They just don't work for my skin type, but that doesn't mean they won't work for yours. I'd love to know your thoughts, feelings and opinions, so sound up in the comment section below, and wherever you are in the world, guys, stay safe, stay well, and love your skin. Take care. Bye.